Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the ASL. Time to begin Group B in ASL 21, round of 24. We've got Soulkey here today, the four-time ASL champion. Joining him, three poor Terran players. They're definitely outnumbering the other contenders, the other races in this tournament so far, but they're all kind of shaking looking at Soulkey today, I imagine.
I mean, we've said it before, this is quite literally the kind of group that Soulkey would put together in the group selection ceremonies. He would love to stack his group with three Terrans. Although we were talking a little bit off air, saying you mentioned that there's been a translation of Soulkey recently talking about not feeling super confident today. He stepped down from his position at Cloud9. He's not feeling it. I don't know. I said to you that I feel like that's maybe relative to his expected performance during his four-time championship reign. I'm sure he's not as good as he was then, but yeah, he's definitely having some kind of doubts in himself winning today, but I don't think that will affect his chances too much. I think it's still very possible he could destroy this group.
I mean, we were all pretty aware of Soulkey, not feeling it as much since his previous ASL win. Like, he was definitely playing some more League of Legends. He was spending more time doing, variety streaming. It was clear that he was a little bit burned out after winning 4 times in a row, maybe, questioning whether it was all worth it to continue to try and hold that title. The amount of play it takes, the amount of time and effort it takes to put in order to get to that level. And that was reflected in his performance last season. He got knocked out by Barracks and Effort in the end. Barracks took him down with a really well-timed Valkyrie push, and then we saw Effort come out with a sneaky hidden hatchery to get the win over the 4-time champion. And so he went out very early. Apparently he's not too satisfied with that. He's not too happy with his recent performance, his recent level. He feels like he's a bit shaky, and he's actually predicting himself to go out of this group. I don't know if that's, again, Korean culture. Maybe, like we talked about Flash yesterday, maybe he's kind of lowering the fans' expectations. Hey, don't bet on me. I'm not I'm not at my usual level. Don't get mad if I underperform here. I'm letting you know beforehand to kind of save face. I'm not sure if it's that or if he's actually assuming he's going to get taken down here. He's up against some pretty stiff competition, Xun. We talked about it yesterday as well.
Yeah, and as far as Flash goes, I really do feel like he's practicing a lot more than 10 games a day. I think it is a little bit of Korean culture to kind of hide your power level and kind of act a bit humble about things. He is a TVT monster, though. I imagine Flash will be going pretty deep into this ASL, even if he doesn't win it. As far as this group's concerned, here the day, I still think Soulkey's going to perform. I just can't see him going out 0-2, for example. Like, I think he's at least going to beat one of these guys. I think he might not be the first out of his group. I kind of have a feeling that Ssak is going to beat JYJ, and then Ssak might come out of a crazy teched out timing attack that beats Soulkey, and Ssak actually might get out of this group first. I know that's a bit of a hot take. I've not rated Ssak very highly in the past, but he has been playing pretty phenomenally recently.
Yeah, he's got some pretty sneaky tricks with the 1-1-1 build. 1-1-1 has become such a interesting style. It's got so many different pathways that you can take. So many players are getting really good with, 2-port Wraith. You've got the Vessel rushes, and then you've got the Valkyrie play, which just has been on such a massive come up in recent years. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go about doing that 1-1-1, and there's a lot of things you have to prepare for as a Zerg player. You have to be very good with your scouting, and you have to be able to pick up on these subtle differences in the build that the Terran is displaying.
Yeah, Soulkey's usual style, He was, quite a macro monster. He was basically an iron curtain. He was happy to take early game deficits, like opening up pool first to shut down any greed, prevent any kind of cheese with like barracks out on the map or what have you. And he was really good at playing from behind. He could basically do the build orders that everyone else did, but he would always find a way of like squeezing out an extra drone. He was just so good in his optimizations while going into that late game macro style. Obviously, he's not going to be playing quite to that level here today, so maybe that's why he has a little bit of lack of confidence. He's not quite on top of his usual game that he would be able to easily trounce something like a 1-1-1 play from Ssak. We've seen Soulkey go hyper aggressive against builds like that and just dive on them and kill them before they get off the ground, but that requires very good scouting, like you say, a lot of decisiveness, and maybe he's not feeling confident about having that ability today.
As I'm looking at the stage here, Xun, I mean, we have such a great range of TVZ players in these Terrans, right? Yes. We've got Ssak, who's, like we said, going to go for a lot of 1-1-1 plays, be very teched out and kind of low econ. And then we've got JYJ, who's just such a monster with his Marine medic control. He likes to play, maybe a 4-rack style or, an early +1, maybe a 2 racks into 4 racks or 5 racks. He can do a lot of those different variations on the bio play. And then we've got Ample. Ample is a bit of a question mark for me. I've watched a bit of him. I've heard a lot of good things about him. But the recent series that I've watched from him, I wasn't super impressed. What do you think about Ample so far, Xun?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of been off the radar a little bit. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do a quick breakdown of all of the players and how they got here today. So Soulkey didn't have a seed this time around due to being eliminated by effort, like we talked about in the last season. He had to qualify like everyone else, and on day one of the main qualifiers, took out the amateur BCM 2-0, Promise 2-0, and in the semis, and finally later in the 2-1 in the finals. His 4-star rampage is obviously at an end now, but maybe this season he can climb to even greater heights and become a 5-star general. But like we were saying, apparently he doesn't feel that confident about winning today, so we'll see. He's going to be facing off against Ample first in match number 1, who was in the last ASL Season 20, dropping his TVT games against Sharp twice, but did beat Stork in the losers match. He qualified in day 2 at the main qualifiers in this group, first taking out the Chinese player Dugu 2-0, then Art User 2-0, and finally Olympus in the finals 2-0. Let's see if he can finally break into the round of 16 today for the first time since season 16, by the way, since he's been away from the scene a little bit until this last year. In match number 2, we have JYJ, a TVT specialist, which he will have to rely on if he faces off against the likes of Soulkey a bit later today. JYJ beat out Ruin 2-1 in the day 1 main qualifiers in his group in the semis, and then getting another 2-1 win over Bishop to be here today. His opponent is Ssak, which you could say is a bit of a dark horse of the tournament. I've had some pretty bad things to say about him about a year ago due to his blunder pack play, but honestly, he's been playing pretty incredibly well recently, so credit where it's due to him. He took down Haya in day 2 main qualifiers in his group semifinals, and actually was the guy to eliminate Mini 2-1 in the finals, which is why you don't see Mini anywhere in this ASL. So already accomplishing some great feats even before his on-stage games.
I made my predictions before we went into Group A. I was predicting Ssak and Soulkey to make it through. I hope he's not too much in his head here, Soulkey. He's getting asked a lot of questions. Everybody wants to know what kind of shape he's in. Of course, the 3-time champion falling by the wayside in the last season. Turned a lot of heads, made everybody question exactly what's going on with him. He mentioned in that video that we were talking about earlier, the translated video, that he was actually looking forward to performing in ASL 22. That's how far he believes he's fallen, but I think it remains to be seen. We got to wait here and see what his shape is like, because this is and has historically been his best matchup. This is where he dominates. These are the type of groups that he likes to set up for himself, and so he is in his element here. I imagine we're going to see him get through the round of 16.
I think so. I just don't necessarily think he's going to get out of the group first. I think there's a lot to be said for Him winning over Ample's a pretty solid player. He's pretty aggressive macro. I don't know how you want to describe him, but he's a pretty aggressive Terran, but he is really super solid in his fundamentals as well. I think that as far as JYJ and Ssak's concerned, JYJ is just not that great at TVT. He's going to be relying on his versus Zug specialist ability, maybe in that final match against Soulkey or something. I feel like Ssak's going to beat out JYJ, face off against Soulkey in the winners match. Ssak's going to get out first. Soulkey's going to be in the final match against someone like JYJ. That's what I'm thinking here today. So I think Soulkey is getting out of this group, but it's probably second, not first.
Wasn't it JYJ? JYJ, I don't want to contradict you here, but I think JYJ beat Mind for his ASL title, but that was kind of an upset. Mind is such a incredible TVT player, and that's how he ended up getting his ASL title. JYJ managed to avoid basically every Protoss player and somehow slip through and get himself an ASL title. So he's here in this group. He's probably pretty happy. At least there's no Protoss. At least there's no Snow. There's no Best in here to kind of shut him down early. Maybe he's confident that he can make it through.
Yeah, maybe so. And I haven't got his versus Terran record in the ASL off the top of my head, but maybe it's a little bit better than his online performance. His online TVT hasn't looked super good, but maybe he plays a little bit better in the ASL as far as TV.
Oh, we just lost audio here from Xun. Hopefully we'll get that back as the games are getting started. Uh-oh. Technical difficulties, guys. Just hold on a moment. Well, that was absolutely mortifying. I think we're back. Oh my gosh, shit, are you there? Okay. Just give me a moment here. Xun, are you there? Can you talk?
Yeah, might need to refresh the share screen for me. I just see black, but the stream looks like it's up.
Technical difficulties with absolutely everything. The stream.
You're really sorry about that, guys.
The clean stream. Absolutely everything just completely falling apart all at the same time.
Well, let's jump into it.
Just in time. My goodness. At least that didn't happen in the middle of the game, Xun. So small miracles.
Yeah, we're still in the first minute of the game. Looks like Ample doing a bit of an 8 racks right in the center here on Octagon, spawning in the top right, and Soulkey down here in the bottom left. You can send a drone scout through the middle, but Ample's put this on the far left of the center, and he's kind of hedged his bets correctly. Oh my god, is he going to BBS on either side of the center? Saying we've talked so much about how good this map would be for proxies, and Ample is doing exactly that here in Soulkey in game number 1.
Yeah, this is maybe the first time I've actually seen someone try to pull this off, which is weird, right? You've got this giant buildable terrain in the middle of the map, and you would think people would be just randomly tossing stuff out there, hoping that it wouldn't get scouted. This is the first time we're seeing it. Is it going to be successful here against Soulkey, who opened with a hatchery first? And he's gone for a gas. Oh my gosh, this is so greedy.
Yeah, this is super greedy. What's so crazy is that, like, the Soulkey of old would have opened up pool first just to avoid these kinds of situations, but maybe due to a lack of confidence isn't feeling like playing from behind in case the Terran was just playing normal, and he might actually get punished for it. I really like the idea here from Ample to build up barracks on either side of the center. They're so far against the edges that if you were to cross-map scout with a drone, you probably wouldn't see either of these. And it also kind of hedges Ample's bets based on Soulkey's spawn location. He now knows Soulkey's in the bottom left after identifying that Overlord in the bottom right. And this is going to be super interesting because Soulkey played about as greedy as you can play without doing something like a 3-hatch before pool.
Yeah, this is insane greed, and he hasn't even scouted with a drone, so he doesn't even see this coming in. There's going to be, you know, 4 Marines here with an SCV, and there's nothing he can do. He can't even pull drones. He can't even pull drones against this, and his hatchery finish. There's nothing he can do. I think that Soulkey is just going to die, and he has no one but himself to blame. Ample's going to get away with a quick win.
That's crazy, man. I didn't expect this to happen. I mean, Ample is a very aggressive Terran. You would have to imagine Soulkey had some idea that something like this might be transpiring, but apparently no. Apparently he wanted to get away with a very greedy opening and now is paying the mortal price for it. Ample's going to try and push into the main as well, trying to go for a guaranteed win. You don't really have to do this. You could just kill this hatchery in the natural and kind of call it a day, but he wants to close out the game as quickly as possible. It's almost impossible to cover your main base with sunken colonies. You can always just dance around where they position the sunken or just kill it outright. If he gets behind the minerals, that's GG as well. Pretty good surround from Soulkey to try and shut this down. Sunken is about to pop in a few seconds. Can he find a way of holding this? I mean, it's possible that maybe Ample overstepped his mark a little bit, but I still don't think he's going to lose this game. He's done a good job of retaining a lot of these Marines despite them being on low HP. Soulkey's still in a world of hurt. The hatchery in the natural won't go down for quite a while because the bunker won't target that automatically. It's going to be hitting the eggs and things popping out of them. Maybe Soulkey can turn this around.
Yeah, these are really low Marines, and there you go. He does get rid of the Marines. The bunker here is still a problem. And, you know, some drones were killed and all that good stuff. So it's still very, very hard for Soulkey. But he's managed to slip 2 Lings out. Okay, this is actually big. 2 Lings in the main base are going to start to slow down Ample's mining. There is a possibility here for Soulkey, despite, you know, having such a massive build order loss. That dive into the main was unnecessary from Ample, and it might cost him.
Yeah, I think it definitely was unnecessary, and I think Soulkey might have a very strong chance of turning this game around. He's killed quite a few SCVs now. There are obviously the Marines will be retreating back to the main base, and he can still play a normal game after. Oh my god, he got another SCV send. But now Soulkey can dive on this bunker, and Ample's no longer going to be super safe back at home. He might even have to plug the ramp with an SCV or 2, because he hasn't got that high count of Marines. Although he was wise in keeping his barracks planted in the center, so he has squeezed out a few extra Marines. Maybe enough to hockey. I think he's just barely got enough Marines that he's going to be safe against this. But he's still pulling SCVs to maybe plug the ramp here, knowing that there's a chance that Soulkey could go all in. And Soulkey's actually going to play 1 base Spire. This is crazy.
I think that you have to kind of do this as Soulkey. Trying to retake the natural it's too slow. It's too rough. He needs to get in here and try to deal damage. Get those really useful units out. You know, you can get a lot of value out of mutas, even at low numbers. Even off of 1 base, it can be a little bit viable. It'll at least force turrets, and Ample is low on SCVs as well. He's not got a lot of income. Building turrets hurts. It's a lot of lost mining time, and you got to spend the money. So just forcing the turrets out is going to help slow down Ample so that Soulkey can regain control in this game. Dude, Ample's going to be kicking himself so hard if he loses this. I mean, he could have, especially that he could have defended that bunker inside the main base. Like when he went into the main base, he could have defended that bunker and just let that finish and then killed the gas and been completely fine. Because it turns out the sunken colony wasn't even in range. So going over there and trying to fight the sunken and fighting all the Lings and the drones was a massive error. Can Ample still pull it out here? He's got to be sweating right now.
I think a lot of Terrans are kind of victims of success. We've seen it happen so often. When they do start to do well with these kind of cheese openings, they kind of bite off more than they can chew and try and end the game right then and there, and very often tend to get punished for doing it. We've seen that happen to Ssak a whole lot in the past as well. But, I mean, maybe Ample can still close this game out. He has got medics out now. I'm sure a stim is on the way. I don't think this is as easy for Ample as it should be, though. I really do feel like this was almost a one game, and now there's quite a bit of chance for Soulkey to turn this around. He's going to do a run-by with some Lings as well into the main base of Ample. He does have a medic and a firebat to block, though, so he's going to be able to shut down that stab. Soulkey not quite able to squeeze out that many Mutalisks for the time being. He hasn't got enough to one-shot these Marines, so this one medic Marine force actually might do a lot of damage to him.
Just 4 mutas is not enough to one-shot. You need that 5th muta to be able to pick off the Marine there at full health. Firebat coming up here as well. This is a really dangerous army. And I think the hatchery just finished. Great pull there. And a good flank as well. Right before the other Marines and Firebats show up, you can see a big sigh here from Ample. He knows how much he messed up this game and how close he came to winning, and now he's got a big fight on his hands.
I mean, this is really impressive from Soulkey, right? Like, you go completely crazy greedy in your opening, you get absolutely obliterated by a BBS, and you still find a way of turning the game around. I don't think Soulkey was totally truthful in his disbelief of himself. He's easily breaking through to finish out the game now. GG is called from Ample, completely tilting, both literally and figuratively, after throwing that game. Unbelievable, said. We've seen it happen to so many Terrans where they get into these great spots with their early game cheeses. They always tend to go a little bit too deep, get a little bit too aggressive, and fall by the wayside. And that's got to be a big sigh of relief for Soulkey now that he's going to be going through to the winners match to face off against either JYJ or Ssak, considering how close he came to losing that.
Apple might need to call up BCM, man. Get some tips. How do I win in a 2-Rex? Of course he knows. I mean, he knows he messed up. You can see the look of disappointment in his face. And the big sigh that he had as his Marines were getting killed off there. He is completely aware of the win condition that he missed out on there. If he had just controlled the natural and played a more regular game, he would have been fine. Or if he had just, ran off to the side and not confronted the sunken colony, right, he would have been fine as well. So multiple points of failure there. The pressure is on here at ASL, though, and looks like today Ample cracked. We'll see if he can still make it through in the rest of the group, guys. Looks like we're going to go to a commercial break. We'll be back just a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. Geez, guys, what can you say about that last match? Ample feels like he had a full book. Choose your own adventure. Every single page was a win, except for one. He chose the wrong page. Absolutely incredible. Motive level throw in the ASL. If you guys remember, Motive's 2-gate in the wrong base on Dominator against Rush a couple seasons ago. That's the caliber of throw we just saw there from Ample. Definitely going to be putting him on tilt here. And it would be kind of incredible if you were able to get back into his right mind and somehow make it through this group after that embarrassment.
Yeah. Yeah, if I tell you what, if he can somehow get it together and find his groove again and make it out of this group, it would be as impressive of how bad that throw was. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe he can turn it around. Maybe he can do so wrong and then do so right. It is possible, but I just don't see it happening now. I don't think anyone is recovering psychologically in such a short span of time, especially against the kind of competition we have here today. Have a feeling Ample's going to go out 2-0 after that. I'll stick with my original prediction that we'll be seeing Ssak beating JYJ and then Ssak facing off against Soulkey in that winner's match. And I think there's a strong likelihood that Ssak will be breaking out of this group first if that does transpire. But we'll see. JYJ, he's no slouch either. He could certainly beat Ssak in a TVT. It's only a best of one. Anything can happen.
That's right. And it's possible that Soulkey could also beat Ssak in the final match. I mean, he's rating himself pretty low, but his performance there in that last game was something to admire, man. Like, the comeback was real. He had to do everything right, and Ample had to do everything wrong, and those two somehow matched up for a Soulkey victory. Kind of incredible. We got JYJ here. 52% win rate, not bad, but you can see that versus Protoss win rate. We weren't exaggerating when we talked about it earlier.
Right. And I stand slightly corrected. It seems like his ASL TVT slightly better record than his online performance. So yeah, maybe I should have given him a little bit more credit where it's due. I mean, that's a pretty damn good record to have in ASL. Anything above 50% is pretty impressive when you're thinking about the caliber of play that's on show here at the ASL, Sam.
And here he is, Ssak. Best win rate in versus Terran. That's something else. I was expecting a higher win rate versus Zerg, but look at that, only 27%. Not a whole lot of games here. Not a massive sample size. But we'll see what kind of shape he's in today. Like you said before, we saw him in KCM a little while back, and he was in kind of a disappointing state. Doing things like what Ample did that last game. Throwing games that were seemingly unthrowable in some pretty important situations made us a little bit worried about what kind of shape he was in, or his mental state, really, when it comes to, you know, getting an advantage and trying to close on that. But the most recent we've seen from Ssak, he actually took out Jaedong in a best of 7 series. That was a Chinese series, and was a pretty impressive performance for him. Haven't seen him in TVT for a while, but we're about to get into this game, guys. JYJ versus Ssak. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm super hyped for this group. This is, I mean, after game number 1, I really don't know what's going to happen. Like, we always see such craziness in the ASL. Let's see if that trend continues. Match number 2, Group B, JYJ versus Ssak on Octagon. Let's get it.
All right, Ssak spawning in the bottom right, JYJ top right. We had this map in TVT yesterday as well. Didn't end up going late, but I think there's a lot of potential for a nice long late game here. Very different from Match Point in that regard. You just got a lot of bases here with some really strong choke points and high grounds that are difficult to break. So we'll see if either player wants to try and take it to a long game. Who's going to be committing to wraiths and drop ships and trying to get fancy. I think that Ssak is much more likely to try for some more fancy play in TVT.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement, saying as far as this map goes, I think it's a little bit more mid-game centric than something like Polestar. With that mineral-only third natural base, I think that players are likely going to find win conditions in the mid-game more often than on maps like Polestar. But I think you're right about these like high ground ridges in the corners of this big open center do tend to lean towards very strong defensive play, which could set up for a late game, and there is plenty of gas on this map comparatively to maps like a Match Point, where yeah, we could certainly see this game go long. But I mean, Terran versus Terran has evolved a lot, right? We don't see that much crazy late game centric play as we used to. It used to be always like map split scenarios, players can't finish the other guy off even with an advantage for at least 20 minutes. Kind of gone are those days. We had a bit of an era where there was a very Vulture War heavy style where pretty much everyone was going via mass factory vultures, and then the game kind of evolved even more than that. So you had the Vulture Wars still, but then you had a lot more mid-game drop-centric play. Players like TY Baby showed that you can also stay on drop ships for pretty much the entire game, which was considered insane back then. And yeah, you got mass wraith options as well. There's a lot more dynamic availability to the players to utilize to avoid having to just split the map and go BCs every time.
Yeah, this is the matchup, the mirror matchup that has evolved the most, I think, in the ASL era. And
100%.
It's evolved into a shorter and shorter game, which TVT haters out there will appreciate. People who didn't like that kind of Go-esque style of gameplay where you're just kind of containing your opponent and setting up concaves and, you know, trying to slowly outmaneuver them over time. It's much more fast-paced. Singular drops can make or break the game depending on, you know, mine positioning, scans, and wraiths catching out on the map. There's also very early game strategies that can suddenly break a Terran player in the early game. Go ahead, Xun.
Yeah, he's got 3 Marines as JYJ, trying to see if he can punish Ssak, playing standard and only making 2 Marines to start things off. He's going to try and box in these Marines and the natural and get a little bit of an early game advantage. This isn't super strong because the Vulture will pop out in just a moment. But if he can be a little bit annoying and catch this Vulture on the high ground in conjunction with the SCV, that's huge. Good play, though, from Ssak, going to be repairing up that Vulture and prevent any issues. Came very close to getting on that high ground with the SCV in conjunction with those Marines. He could have then slowed down the Vulture enough to be super annoying. And Ssak has responded with an engineering blade block to slow down the CC of JYJ. So Ssak getting a little bit of an eco lead, not by much, but it's definitely something considering he was very close to potentially having to sacrifice taking that natural early. If the Vulture was unable to bully off those 2 Marines and SCV on the high ground, suddenly it would be JYJ in an advantage.
Very smart and quick response from Ssak there. Doing the best that he could with the Marine, the 2 Marine versus the 1 Marines, and then throwing down that eBay during all of the chaos. Really handled that well. And so I think has a small advantage here, although there are now 3 Vultures making their way in. Ooh, that 3rd Vulture just barely slipped by. That could have been kind of bad, actually. If the 3 Vultures arrived with only 2 sitting here in the natural, he might have lost those 2 and been in a pretty difficult spot. A 4th arrives. SCVs have been pulled off the line. This is part of what has made these Vulture Wars less significant. Takes out 1 Vulture and an SCV, but won't push in for more. The SCVs have become an integral part of holding these early Vulture attacks. The repair, the actual body blocking and attacking from the SCVs turns out can make a really big difference in these early game fights, and has led to less and less reliance on Vulture Wars and less commitment to Vulture Wars in the totality of TVT.
Yeah, and just to like quickly explain like how much having a vulture advantage can quickly change things. So say you got 4 vultures versus 3, you can actually 2-shot volley vultures off the board, and they can't with their 3 vultures. So you kind of have to rely on things like SCV repair to stabilize a deficit like that. And same with like, 8 vultures can dominate 7 because you're then one-shotting vultures off and the guy with 7 can't. And it can very quickly escalate. It's kind of like in ZVZ where you've got a slight muta lead or you get off a volley and the other guy doesn't. It can very quickly snowball. So basically these guys can be like 1 step away from throwing the game when they are in a Vulture War scenario like this.
Yeah, and the moment that you start to lose the Vulture War, then the SCVs fall incredibly fast. Suddenly you've got no economy left and your opponent is just light years ahead. So gonna fly through here. He misses these 2 factories. Look at the funny placement on these factories here from Ssak. He's actually really ramping up and leaning into the Vulture War scenario here, going up to 4 factories. And I think that JYJ is sitting on only 3 with the machine shop. So
he is
1 tank here doesn't quite flip the math, and these 3 vultures, they're gonna try to run by. Ssak, I mean, he probably comes back here, kills these vultures, and then he might go straight across the map to try and get a big victory. Quite a few SCVs do end up going down. This is some good damage, but this does not change the math in terms of how many vultures there are. This is so many vultures coming up here. He's really gonna have to start throwing down buildings and being really cautious here and trying to get a perfect position against this huge army coming in from Ssak.
Well, he has a tank so to try and close his door off a little bit, but there's no reason why Ssak still can't try and press the issue. Just targeting down that tank as much as possible. Does get a bit of repair on it, so pretty well handled from JYJ thus far. Seems like JYJ just barely has it. It's kind of hard. Yeah, he definitely does have it. The repair on the tank just too strong. Unfortunately, with the concussive damage type of the fragmentation grenades of those vultures, just not able to chip through the high health count and natural armor of that tank quickly enough. And so JYJ is going to stabilize. He's even got a couple of Goliaths now that's going to not only get rid of this barracks out from scouting him, but will also provide very significant defense against any follow-up attacks from Ssak. He's going to have to fall back on map control and just mine up the map as much as possible and kind of try and transition out of this. I don't feel like staying on vultures is going to help him from this point onwards.
No, the vultures are not going to scale here. Whereas these Goliaths and tanks are going to do quite well. JYJ should have more tech as well with that armory done. Can start his +1 if he'd like. And Ssak, I mean, he's just built up a lot of factories. He's lost some SCVs, and he's got a ton of chaff here. A lot of vultures that can't really do too much once all their mines are laid out. They're just going to be a bit of fodder here. In the front of the army. A run around from JYJ. There's not a lot of pathways on this map, but he's for the 2nd time finding a route into the natural here of JYJ, and this is some really important damage here. Getting so many SCV kills. However, he's kind of stuck in his natural. If siege mode finishes up here in a second. Oh my god, a mine connection as well. That's huge. Siege mode finishes up on the side of JYJ. Not quite done yet on the side of Ssak. If Ssak was able to just get control over this ramp, it's going to be bad for JYJ, so you can see the reason why he's trying to push forward so quickly here to try and dislodge Ssak before he gets that siege mode finished.
Yeah, absolutely, Saiyan. I'm a bit surprised that Ssak let those vultures slip by. He quite literally ran over the mines of Ssak, so if Ssak was paying attention to the minimap, he would have identified that and been able to respond, but maybe he was a little bit distracted with his macro cycles or something. Now the position looks even better for JYJ. Sak's kind of having to pull back to center control, giving up this high ground ridge, so he's kind of lost some of the positional advantage that he had. He still has chances of containing JYJ in this northeastern quadrant, but it's nowhere near as strong on this map as it can be on a lot of the other maps we have. JYJ will still be able to take this mineral only and even the 12 o'clock pretty much undeterred. So JYJ is not going to be that fussed that Ssak's got this diagonal angle covered in the center and setting up for another run by this time Ssak spotting that on the minimap and getting ready to respond with his own vultures here. I think Ssak just barely has a superior count of vultures, so he should be able to shut down this attack from JYJ. It's a very even count of vultures overall. I think Ssak's got just a couple more vultures here than JYJ, so he should win this trade.
Yeah, it looks like he will, in the end, take this fight barely, I think. Oh my gosh, a few more reinforcements arrive here, and then JYJ actually wins it. Gonna try to run forward, try to throw down some mines, maybe? No, he actually runs through the army and loses almost every vulture, so not the best end of that trade, but pretty decent from JYJ to trade out a lot of vultures here. Rotates around the side, at least gets a few mines on this left side to kind of scout out what's going on, whether there's an SCV coming over to build another CC here or not. But in the end, Ssak will clear up that counterattack, and he's still got a pretty reasonable contain. JYJ is going to go around that this time with a dropship, possibly to send that into the into the main base. While this attack is going on, pushing forward here, trying to get a couple extra tanks. Target fire is good from JYJ, but this mine may end up going off. Can it actually connect? No, it does not, but some extra splash damage takes out a couple of tanks. Ssak pulls his SCVs away. He sees the drop coming in, but this is still going to get some damage.
Yeah, it was a good distraction technique there from JYJ, just to force Ssak's attention to the front of that contain and hitting him in the back with the dropship simultaneously. And I think while this is all going on, JYJ is going to be looking to take the 12 o'clock with a CC as well. Ssak was a little bit greedy. He basically skipped over making a CC at the mineral only completely, and he wants to get up to this third gas as soon as possible. Whereas JYJ, he's going to have 4 bases earlier than Ssak. So long term, this is a lot better for JYJ overall. I mean, I like the idea from Ssak to get a little bit greedy with taking that third gas early, but that dropship certainly evened things out, and JYJ also has an upgrade advantage, so he might be getting into that +2 weapons a lot quicker than Ssak, who's only just now starting his starport and doesn't have that +1 finished up.
These are the results of sticking on vultures so much in the early game, trying to do that attack early and kind of falling apart, failing to deal any real damage. JYJ actually pushes forward. He's going to take 2 volleys before these siege tanks even siege up, so a little bit lackluster with the push out here, but he gains a little bit of ground at least. Still, his command center is going to be slowed down. This SCV should be targeted here, and even this second one should get targeted as well, just slowing this down even more. A tank falls as well. More SCV damage. Ssak is making a bit of a move here.
Yeah, this is great from Ssak, man. This is the kind of moves you need to make to stay in a game like this. You can't just sit back and macro when you're going to be behind both economically and in terms of upgrade advantage. JYJ also has air superiority. He's going for dropships, and he has a little pack of wraiths out on the map, chipping away at some of these tanks, and he's distracting the Goliath count of Ssak by trying to hunt down this dropship rather than defending the main tank line out in front. So this is pretty good play from both sides. JYJ still in advantage. He has cloak upgrade on those wraiths, but he's a little bit distracted with his task switching. Hasn't actually got those tanks. Sorry, wraiths actively hunting down tanks. Yeah, he's just now given them another order to go and kill some more tanks. Oh, this dropship just barely surviving on 1 HP to get back into the main base and can do some continuation damage. Constantly distracting Ssak. After sustaining a little bit of damage himself, JYJ still looking pretty good, I would say.
And despite having this small contain here out in the middle of the map, and that all being buildable terrain, Ssak did not opt to build any turrets out there. This is a lot of damage. Oh my gosh, so many SCVs just died in the main base there. That 6 HP dropship being an absolute hero for JYJ, and he's looping all the way around the outside now, looking to set up on these tanks, get a couple of mine connections here, and get some great value out of these vultures while slipping around the side, trying to get up on this high ground to potentially cut off Ssak from the bottom left. However, he's not quite controlling this as well as he should. He's actually letting these tanks just kind of walk into the army here, and he may end up losing quite a few of them. Yeah, quite a few tanks go down here. Good move from Ssak to deal with that, but he's losing more at the bottom center. Tanks are falling. Wraiths are being made here. Ssak needs to get something out to actually deal with this. Okay, he's got enough Wraiths to actually kill off the Wraiths of JYJ now. Just needs to have a scan here to make sure that he doesn't get beaten by a cloak. Cloaks and runs away. JYJ, those Wraiths will live to fight another day. Double expansion into top left here from JYJ. He's trying to get the momentum onto his side, taking these bases, but he's getting spread thin as Ssak slips into top center with some vultures.
Wow, this game is super crazy. I'm pretty impressed with both of the players. Seems like JYJ is going to go back to trying to seize away air superiority by starting the production of some Valkyries, seeing that Sakk's going to be pumping out quite a few Wraiths with his own cloak upgrade now. He kind of has to do something to respond to that, and I don't think he can keep up with the Wraith production. I think Sakk's got 2 starports and JYJ only has 1, so Valkyries are definitely a good answer to this. Plenty of scans going across the board, trying to see where the defenders have been allocated and where players need to respond and actively attack. JYJ shoving it down on this left-hand flank of the center. But with this tank setup that Ssak has got and the air superiority of the Wraiths, it looks like he's shutting it down very cost efficiently.
Ooh, JYJ really wants to get up on this high ground bottom left, and he's just not able to do it. He has a Valkyrie out here, but he can't challenge these Wraiths just yet. It's funny how the Valkyrie and Wraith interact. They can be Valkyries can be such a massive counter to Wraiths, but if they're in low enough numbers and the Wraiths are high enough in number, the Wraiths absolutely destroy with their anti-air.
Yeah. And Sakk's playing really good right now. He's shoving up towards this northwestern quadrant, seizing the tempo that he's been able to ascertain with the slight air superiority that he's had. JYJ had +2 weapons advantage, which is why he was trying to shove it down on that left-hand flank so aggressively. He knew he had an upgrade advantage and wanted to leverage it against Ssak, but he kind of got punished for it. He is going to be trying to do some counter damage with some vulture raids, but he's also getting a little bit stretched thin, like you were saying, and it's kind of hard for him to cover all these positions. So Ssak also going to town with some vultures in the northwestern quadrant, picking up some SCVs. There's a massive SCV train that's coming up into that corner, but there's already vultures here, so JYJ at risk of losing quite a significant count of SCVs. He's finally getting in there with some of his own units to clean that up, but that means he's exposed at the front. Ssak shoveling it down while JYJ is on cleanup duty in that top left corner, Sam.
Looks like JYJ was planning to set up a few turrets here in the middle. All of that is buildable terrain, so this is another reason that why this map lends itself to a potential split map situation. You just have so much buildable terrain. You can build up enough turrets to where dropping on top of the tanks is just going to be impossible. It's not going to be worth it. And you may have to go to a super late game. What is going on here?
What is happening? The vulture's bugged out. I don't even know what I'm looking at right now.
Well, JYJ is going to be a little bit disappointed when he sees that replay. Oh my god!
It didn't even
There's no way. Well, he decided
happening?
There's no reason to kill that. It's not even going to attack. So, I mean,
it's a glitch in the Matrix, Sam. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what is happening. That's crazy. I don't even know what is happening. He's got 1 HP on that vulture, man. What are we even looking at?
I don't think that vulture really exists. It's actually, it actually died.
There is no vulture.
We're in a different universe where that vulture actually died. Oh my gosh, it does actually activate and gets a kill. What the heck happened there, man? That's crazy. Well, Brood War is a funny game, guys. But JYJ does get that vulture to work, and he is setting up in the top left. Ssak taking the bottom left. We may go for a really big game. Look at both players banking up Valkyries as well. Now it's a problem. Like now Wraiths don't matter at all. You know, you get to 6 Valkyries, the Wraiths explode so quickly they don't even really get to shoot. Yeah,
they quite literally are paper planes anyway, but when you got that many Valkyries with that much splash damage, yeah, they do kind of evaporate. Let's see who can leverage their air fleet better than the other. So far, there's quite a few Wraiths here from JYJ trying to come down into the bottom left, but look at Ssak just waiting to pounce on that. He wants to corner these air units so they can't properly escape, and he has got some Goliaths coming down here to help out as well. But he's actually not going to stick around with his own air fleet. He's actually going on the aggressive now. He's got quite a high count of Wraiths himself. He's going to start picking away at the tank line of JYJ while JYJ's distracted down here in the bottom left.
Yeah, this is an interesting tactic. Okay, here we go. We're going to actually meet in the middle of the map. Good spread from JYJ. Actually, much better spread from him. Wraiths here trying to kind of move to the side and force the missiles to go in different directions. With the extra Wraiths there, I guess Ssak wins that fight. That's harder to actually commentate than I think Mutilus versus Mutilus should. That is a crazy
yeah, I think so.
Conglomeration of units when all of those missiles are firing. So hard to tell what's going to happen.
Yeah, we got a +3 weapons upgrade advantage for JYJ here. It doesn't matter as much as having the +2, but he is shoving it down in the center while all that craziness was going on. Finally, those Wraiths starting to get cleaned up by Ssak. JYJ did kill quite a significant count of SCVs during all this, but Ssak also doing his own Vulture raids in the top left. It's going to be getting some good compensation. Vultures kill SCVs a whole lot faster than Wraiths do with their burst lasers, and suddenly this game is getting harder and harder to call as the seconds tick by. This is such an action-packed late-game scenario that we're seeing. It's kind of hard to call. All these 3 dropships trying to get away with their lives, but they flew over some mines. So Ssak knows that these dropships are here. He's not going to be able to do anything with them. It's a massive pickup for Ssak.
Oh my gosh, those dropships were full as well. But even with the kills there on those tanks and those dropships, JYJ is even in supply. He's just fallen a little bit behind now. But this is incredibly close. I think Ssak is getting some tactical victories, but JYJ is still a monster. And we still might end up seeing a split map situation.
Yeah, I think we're already starting to see the beginnings of that split map. The game is very action-packed comparatively to those old late-game scenarios we used to see in TVT, where like the siege lines never moved and no one ever attacked and they just go into BCs. But I don't think either player is going into BCs anytime soon, and both players still trying to find maneuvers that they can execute to gain slight ground here. It is starting to become a little bit of a trench warfare scenario in the center. Not much ground can be gained without risking too many losses, and as you can see, JYJ trying to shove it down just a little bit. He's already now starting to fall about 20 supply behind for the efforts. Ssak starting to build up his own massive dropship fleet. I think this is the play. I don't think BCs are the answer. I think the play is to counter dropships with dropships of your own, and suddenly we could see a massive blob of blue show up in maybe JYJ's main base or here in the top left, and that could be one of the game-winning moves that Ssak can execute to close this game out.
Yeah, generally you'll see lots of turrets start to get thrown down around this time, but there are still moments here before the turret number becomes too high where big drops can still be very effective. You can also just send Valkyries in to tank turret shots too. The turrets will naturally target the Valkyries rather than the dropship. So, oh my gosh, what a crazy fight. So many dropships here, and JYJ is actually trying to target them down instead of fighting the Valkyries of Ssak. A lot of dropships fall, but most of the units end up getting out. And actually, Ssak gonna siege up in a pretty good position here with a lot of Goliaths to actually cover these tanks to help him kill the SCVs as quickly as possible. Valkyries down here just scouting for these tanks of Ssak. Ssak going to continue to back up. He's killed a lot of SCVs now. JYJ is starting to fall apart after that fight.
Yeah, I think Ssak is starting to do it right now. He's got a pretty big lead over JYJ, and all these SCVs are pretty stranded in the top left. He's trying to respond with some tanks on the ground. Finally clears out the 2 tanks of Ssak, and then going to try and run into the main base location to save the day and stop too many of those SCVs falling. But Ssak didn't lose that many dropships. He's going to repair them up and go for round 2. It does seem like JYJ transitioning into BCs at long last. He did have triple armory researching some air upgrades, this for his units as well. He's going to have to try and drag this game out if he wants to win it. Ssak is in a position to get a victory within the next 5 minutes or so if JYJ is not careful, but JYJ knows he has to kind of play the long game to win this himself.
Where is this next drop going? It'll be a conclusive attack, victory or defeat. Hangs in the balance when it comes to these drops. Trying to focus down one of these dropships. He's not able to get it. Oh, that's a big moment there as the drops actually make their way into the main base. The Wraiths are here, but there should be a scan coming through in a second. I guess Ssak is a little bit distracted by that bottom left drop, dealing a lot of damage, but this is too much. JYJ has to tap out. Wow, what a game, man. That was an incredibly heated TVT. So much back and forth, so much action, and that's a great, great example of what modern TVT can be like.
Yeah, I hope you guys are starting to realize that TVT isn't the same as what you used to think it was. I think that game was a great example of, even if the game does go longer, it's so much more action-packed. There's so much more chaos going on the map from both sides, and kind of hats off to both players. I think both of them played pretty phenomenally that game. I did predict that Ssak was going to win that, but to be fair, JYJ was in a very fantastic position for a lot of that game. Ssak just managed to outplay him before he could get off the ground and finally do that late game transition into BCs, and JYJ spread himself a little bit too thinly with leapfrogging expansions up to that top left, maybe a little bit too quickly ahead of schedule. And very well played by Ssak. Probably one of the best TVT performances I've seen from Ssak in at least a year.
Some of those air battles were really hard to call, but Ssak coming out ahead on those, I think, started to tilt the game in his favor. Winning those air battles and then picking up the 3 dropships heading around the outside made a massive difference, guys. We're going to just a 7-minute break. We'll be right back. It's going to be Soulkey versus Ssak in the winners match. That's coming right up. All right, boys, we are back, ready for the winners match here. Should be a hype contest between Ssak and Soulkey. I'm expecting a 1-1-1 build, a crazy play, not necessarily a BBS, but something tacked out and fancy from Ssak. And I think that Soulkey is one of the guys that's probably the best suited to dealing with that.
Yeah.
But then I said the same thing about Jaedong. Like, Jaedong is great at dealing with really crazy scenarios and difficult to handle situations, and somehow Ssak managed to beat him in that series that I watched. So I'm just really curious to see if Soulkey is up to the task of dealing with Ssak and what Ssak can put out for us today.
Yeah, I would say, like historically speaking, Soulkey would deal with Ssak's style just fine, but Soulkey has dipped in power level just a little bit. I don't think as much as maybe he was trying to describe in that recent translation you were talking about. I think that he's still pretty strong, but when you're playing at the highest level of StarCraft, like a few percentage of power level actually makes all the difference, right? When you're playing at that higher caliber, that can be enough to set you apart from being able to punish something or dying to it. Back in the day, we would see Soulkey identify a 1-1-1 and completely obliterate it, either by playing perfectly in his defensive play or finding a timing window to just do like a 2-base all-in and pounce on Ssak just before he can get off the ground with the timing. I don't know what's going to happen today. My prediction was that Ssak was actually going to be successful with his timing attack, with his tech-out play, and actually beat Soulkey. But credit where it's due, Soulkey made an almost unwinnable situation winnable against Ample. You could put that down to Ample misplaying there with trying to position his Marines by the Sunken and not just like killing the gas or rotating around or something. But I still give a lot of credit to Soulkey closing out that game. A lot of the Zergs would have freaked out in that position and maybe even just GG'd out as soon as the natural was dead. So yeah, I feel like Soulkey's still playing really good today. My original prediction was that Ssak was going to win, but I'm not too sure about that prediction.
Yeah, there's no room for error here in the round of 24. All best of ones. Anything can happen. We saw what went down with Soulkey in the previous season, getting taken out by Barracks and Effort. Will he advance here today? Will he be able to get into the round of 16, make it through to that group stage? I doubt anyone's going to want to pick him. It might be a last pick if he does make it in the round of 16. Guys, we're jumping into the game.
All right, guys. Winners match between Soulkey and Ssak. Let's get it started.
All right, Soulkey over in the top left-hand corner. Ssak in the bottom right. Cross map positions. Big map here. And so maybe not as viable to go for the 1-1-1. It can still be good. It can still be good, even if you're not close positions. There's so many different routes that you can take. You can go for, Vulture speed into a Valkyrie. You can go into Wraith, 2-port Wraith. Oh, he's actually sending SCV down? Okay, I'm a little bit surprised there. I thought he was going to be building a wall on high ground here. He's actually got something else in mind. Let's see what it is.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I think it's going to be a barracks in the center. I wonder if he changed his plan based on seeing Soulkey playing greedy against Ample and being like, well, hang on a minute. Soulkey's not going to be opening up with early pools. Maybe I can do something similar here and go aggressive. I wonder if this was the original game plan from Ssak, or he's kind of freestyling it on the fly after seeing what happened between Soulkey and Ample. I mean, I think that is a factor to consider because, I talked about it before. Back in the day, Soulkey would open up with a lot of early pools against Terrans to be safe against cheeses like this. And the fact that he saw how greedy Soulkey was willing to play against Ample, despite Ample being an aggressive player, maybe Ssak feeling like I can get away with the similar thing.
I wonder, this is going to be a gas follow-up.
Yes.
Gas follow-up from Ssak. That's what I would expect from him. You can still kind of 1-1-1 off of this. It's a little bit less economical, but I don't think that's a problem for Ssak here. He's going to be sending these Marines in shortly. Right as he sees the SCV here, Soulkey will immediately turn to the south, but I don't think he spots the 8 racks in the middle of the map. Ooh, just barely. He's going to turn.
Oh my gosh.
That's huge.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
He's not going to see it.
Oh my god. He
sees the Marine. That's crazy. And he did make the pull before gas this time around, so this is still going to be a little bit of a tight hold, but now he can cancel the gas. He can focus on just defending with drones. This isn't going to be as hard of a hold anymore, especially with there's only 1 barracks worth of Marines to consider. There is going to be a factory follow-up, so Soulkey has to really be on top of his drone control because he does have to make a sunken colony to defend the follow-up from Ssak here. Staying on the periphery with those drones to then get us around from both sides now, trying to pounce on top of these Marines where they can get too deep. 2 drones have gone down. 3 is about the acceptable threshold. Any more and it's a problem. Doesn't lose that 4th drone critically. So his economy is still going to be in pretty good condition to throw down this sunken colony.
Yeah, hey, not bad. Fighting against 3 Marines is really tough. With just pure drones, you have to get great surface area, and he managed to achieve that there. Gonna make probably just pure drone from here, and that's the
I imagine so.
The luxury of once you've you can get that luxury by just killing with pure drone control. Just 2 lings pop out. Looks like he's gonna go scout a little bit, but I imagine these will be back on the ramp in just a moment. To try and block a potential run by from Ssak. What's the follow-up going to be? Looks like an add-on, so I'm expecting Vulture speed. Will that be combined with just a Wraith, or are we going to see a dropship as well?
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, a dropship makes a lot of sense in this scenario, but I think a Wraith is fine too. But I would really like to see a dropship. A speed vulture drop into the main would be great against what Soulkey's doing. If he tries to go straight into Spire without making a safety den, he could be absolutely eviscerated by that. Like, there are some Zergs that will try and be greedy, not make a den, and then like just get like the borrow upgrade to be safe against the Wraith play, and just rely on SimCity at the front with a few lings to block. And if you go vulture drop and the Zerg doesn't make a den, you're in fantastic shape. Looks like Soulkey is playing super safe though, going to be walling off in his SimCity with a Hydra den. That kind of hedges his bets against anything Ssak can throw at him as a continuation. It's going to help out against the Wraith play. It would help out against a vulture drop in the main and what have you. So I think this is the smartest choice from Soulkey.
Yeah, this is good. But there's the control tower. I think we are going to see that drop. He's going to try to throw in some vultures to the main. How many Hydras are going to be made? Is he going to make a safety sunken colony in the main? We sometimes see that when the Zerg player, sniffs this out. But, he might just go for a burrow here and make a couple of extra Hydras and try to deal with it that way. Other than that, it's probably going to be a Valkyrie follow-up. You kind of have to go Valkyries with this in order to survive the follow-up, the Muta push from Soulkey after the fact, because you're just spending so much money on this drop and the vultures that go along with it, plus mines, plus speed, all that stuff. You need something solid to be able to defend the Mutalisk attack, and that could be dismantled pretty quickly by Soulkey. Like, we're gonna have very few turrets, just a single Valkyrie most likely, and then like 1 pair of Scourge could actually end Ssak in this game. It's such a tightrope walk, but Sak's probably one of the better players in the world at doing it.
Yeah, and Ssak is trying to sell a false bill of goods here to Soulkey and be like, I'm just going to go Wraith and tech up from here. There might not be a dropship following. So there was a chance that Soulkey didn't make that many Hydras and he could maybe punish this, just barely not seeing that dropship with the Overlord. Has got the Lings in the main base, which is huge. Just going to help out the trade and buy a little bit of time for the extra Hydras to get in from the natural. Mine is laid, though, will be sacrificing a Ling to detonate that. Killing quite a lot of drones right now is Ssak. This is pretty significant damage, considering that Soulkey was set up properly to defend against this. He is still losing quite a lot. Tries to get into the natural as well to maybe get another drone kill. Does find another drone kill there. That's pretty huge from Ssak. I would say that's just barely enough damage to make this game extremely playable from here on out.
6 drones, man. Ssak is pretty darn good. Even with Soulkey, fully prepared for everything, still somehow managed to get that damage. There's the Scourge I was talking about. Mutas are going to be coming out here soon, but not nearly in high as of a number as Soulkey would like right now. He'd like to go and put some real pressure onto Ssak and maybe try to pick off that initial Valkyrie and just try to snowball things, but I think he might be in a spot of bother here where he just kind of has to sit back and get a third base out. Wait, that's a lot of Lings. Is he just going to try to bum rush the front here? Whoa, Lurker's done. That's crazy. I was not expecting that, especially not against this mind play here from Ssak.
Yeah, this is super sneaky from Soulkey. There is going to be a continuation drop potential here from Ssak to see if he can find some additional damage, but Soulkey is going to try and run it down and kind of go for a 2-base all-in with Ling Lurker, which is super strong against the build that Ssak is doing, and he's going to maybe blindside Ssak with this. He does know about it now. He has got a lot of bunkers being set up in the front. You need at least 3 finished up bunkers to hold this, and he's still building that third bunker. Doesn't have that many Marines finished, so these Lings could certainly do a lot of heavy lifting and breaking through this bunker line. These bunkers are not fully filled up with Marines. He can fall back and try and unload the bunker into another one as the first one dies, but this is a pretty solid attack from Soulkey. He can also try and run by. Oh, there's a tank blocking the ramp. This is huge from Ssak. Soulkey actually might be dealt with here, but there's no scans, so if these lurkers stay out of range of these turrets, he could still get a lot of damage done.
Jeez, what a crazy teched out play from both players. There's the vessel coming out just in the nick of time. Only one bunker goes down. He is going to hold. Look at him. He's got tanks with siege mode already, and he's got cloak rates and a vessel. Man, how much gas are these guys mining? It's crazy what they can sneak out in these low numbers. And the crazy teched out play from either side is really starting to go in Sakk's favor now that he's held this attack.
Yeah, Soulkey's in a lot of trouble, man, and I'm pretty impressed with Sakk's play. I think he's done everything pretty perfectly this game. I really liked the turret coverage as well. He was making it very difficult for Soulkey to come in with his first pair of Scourge and snipe something like a Valkyrie or what have you. Everything is just lined up perfectly for Ssak. Like, this is one of the most successful 8 racks into 1-1-1 transitions I think anyone could have executed, and this is basically Sakk's forte. He has a totally different style to most other Terrans, and sometimes it looks very flimsy and he gets absolutely obliterated in the past. Right now he's playing pretty expertly, I would say. I don't think anyone on the planet could handle executing these kinds of teched out plays to this kind of level of expertise against especially the likes of Soulkey. Super impressive stuff.
Yeah, the fact that he had those bunkers up in time, and he also pulled SCVs to block the lurker run by. I mean, chef's kiss here in this game. This might be one of my favorite games this season. Just an incredible back and forth between these two, and such low econ play. Not what we're used to in TVZ, but definitely a welcome surprise.
Yeah, I mean, Soulkey can't really do anything. Oh, he has got the speed overload almost in range of those wraiths, but not quite quick enough to shut them down. The game's not quite over yet. Soulkey does have some points of transition. He can try and make this into a somewhat of a normal game. But the reality is, Ssak is just ahead in most regards right now. And you can be really annoying with these cloaked wraiths as well, especially if Soulkey skipped over the borrow upgrade, which it looks like he did. It's going to be completely distracting Soulkey, forcing him to have to chase around these wraiths on the map for quite some time, always even looping back around and juking and jiving with these wraiths, keeping Soulkey guessing as to exactly where these wraiths are going to pop out next. And just when Soulkey goes back to clearing out mines, suddenly the wraiths fly into the mineral line again. This is super aggressive, high-level play from Ssak.
I mean, I think he's just going to let these wraiths go now. They've done their job. They've killed quite a few drones.
Yeah.
And Ssak is ready for the transition. It's going to be a massive tank push with a lot of Marines and kind of a giant number of vessels as well. There are so many Irradiates stacked up here. I don't know how on earth Soulkey can stop this. This is like, you're going to have to make one of the most impressive blunders I've ever seen Ssak to eventually throw this game, if that's what you want to do. I mean, we've seen him throw a lot of games in the past, but I don't know how he throws this one.
Yeah, I don't see it. I see it happening, honestly. I think Sakk's playing a lot better than back in the day. Soulkey is going to look to maybe go... Oh, does pick off one vessel with the Scourge. He's looking to maybe punish the reinforcing army of Ssak, trying to catch it out in the field. But Ssak will be undeterred. He's going to start running it down at the front right now. Soulkey's a long way away from getting anything like a Defiler out and start using Dark Swarms. He's going to have to try and find some kind of pincer maneuver to finish this army off. I don't think it's going to happen. There's just too much Irradiate, too much Bio, and far too many tanks. I think Soulkey's about to tap out. His hand is off the keyboard. What a game from Ssak. This looks unstoppable. GG is called. My prediction was right, saying Ssak, of all people, is getting out of his group 2-0, and Soulkey looks tilted, man.
Wow, what an incredible 1-1-1 play from Ssak. The 8 racks was a nice touch there. I think that Soulkey held that really brilliantly with his drones, about as well as you can be expected to under the circumstances. And, you know, showing a great level of composure, even after getting almost killed by Ample from a 2 racks play in the previous game. He just handled that exactly as he should. He was prepared for the follow-up as well. The drop didn't catch him by surprise. The Lings and Hydras were ready for it, but Ssak was still able to get the damage, and he was able to negate that Lurker bust. I think Soulkey thought he was being sneaky with that. I certainly wasn't expecting it. That Lurker bust was crazy as heck. Came out of left field, but Ssak was onto it. Somehow he picked up with the dropship flying through the main base. He just looked in the main base. He said, you know what? You're probably Lurker busting me. And he immediately started throwing down bunkers, excuse me. Just such great intuitive play by Ssak. He definitely deserves this round of 16 seed.
No, absolutely, Saiyan, and I'm super impressed by him. Like, it's not easy to do that. Like, he played a 1-1-1 style off of an 8 rack, so you're already like cutting your economy quite significantly. He needs to do damage with that drop. Soulkey was prepared for it. He still killed like 6 or so drones, despite Soulkey being in position. I'm so blown away by how good Ssak is playing. He's improved so much since about a year ago, man. Like, I've never been more happy to be wrong about someone. I was really writing this guy off as a bit of a joke back in the day just because of how many games he was throwing, but he's turned it all around. He's now performing super good on the stage. I don't think any other Terran on the planet could have played that style that he did and executed to such perfection. He covered literally all of his bases. There was almost not a single weakness in his play across the board. He had all of the check boxes ticked and nothing that Soulkey could throw at him, despite being a bit sneaky and honestly having a really good counter to the build that Ssak was doing. A lot of Terrans would not have been prepared in time to handle that kind of lurker bust, and Ssak had it down perfectly. Super impressive stuff.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like Terran players have omniscient vision with those scans, but really, Ssak was just reading so deeply into the game. He had a perfect understanding of what the plan was from Soulkey to try and break him open there. Excellently done. Well handled. Now we're going to be going into a TVT, guys, in the losers match. Soulkey is waiting for the winner of that next battle. It's a scary proposition, man. You know that if you you know, if JYJ or Ample ends up winning, they're gonna have to take on Soulkey next, and I think Ample is probably gonna go out in that match after that kind of embarrassment versus Soulkey earlier. I'm sure he's a bit tilted, a bit nervous. But we'll see if he can take on JYJ. He is a pretty scary contender, Ample is, in that matchup.
Yeah, that is true. I feel like JYJ looked really solid in his game against Ssak and TVT, so I kind of want to say that JYJ is more likely to win that, especially given that Ample maybe still not completely psychologically over what happened in that first game against Soulkey. But Ample was a very solid Terran. He certainly is very capable of beating someone like JYJ. Although JYJ, he does perform better in TVT offline than he does online, I would say, especially with that performance against Ssak. So I still would put my money on JYJ winning that out. And I would be super interested to see.
Oh no, are we dropping out again? Guys. All right, guys, I don't know how this keeps happening, but we're simultaneously getting incredibly unlucky with disconnections and incredibly lucky that it's not happening during the game. Somehow, the stars are aligning here for the ASL. We're going to keep working on it. The big problem here is we can't actually test whether the stream and the clean stream are working outside of ASL time, because the clean stream doesn't work outside of ASL time. So the only chance we get to actually try it out is during ASL. So that's a little bit tough. But we'll continue to try and iron out the kinks here, guys. We are back into the game now. And we've got JYJ versus Ample. JYJ spawning over here in the top left, Ample in the top right. Oh, hold on a second. Oh my goodness. I had to reset everything so Shun's voice wasn't coming through. That's hilarious. All right, Shun. Shun just
nice,
basically
I was just screaming
reiterated
into the void.
reiterated what I just said, but go ahead and talk about the game here, Shun.
All right, well, both players basically doing identical builds here, just slightly forward barracks. JYJ's is on the low ground, Ample's just on the edge of his base here. Nothing crazy. This is about as standard as you can get in TVT. It is close spawns, so this actually does make things a little bit interesting, because taking a third gas becomes a little bit weird in situations like this. You can't always take the usual expansion pathing as would naturally progress. If this was cross map, you can kind of do what you want with where you take your expansions. This is going to be a lot different. Players are going to have to take their gas expansions away from each other, and that does lead a lot of room for counterattacks. This could be a very hectic game because players are going to have to expand towards the south of the map to take additional gases, and that will leave them spread a little bit thin.
For sure. One big part of this map, one major geographical factor in this map is the kind of island looking thing here. It's like a kitchen island right out in front of your natural.
Yeah.
Connecting between the main or the natural and the third base, and getting set up along that island there makes it very hard for your opponent to push in. It's a really good defensive position. You've only got 2 small gaps to get through. Marines coming in here right now. Ample trying to target down the SCV. He actually gets the SCV. Going to try to retreat to high ground now. He's lost a lot of HP on this first Marine. So trying to run back as quickly as he can. Going to take this fight now. 2 SCVs come off the line to try and bully back these Marines. But a Vulture will be out here in a moment. Can that Vulture actually catch up, kill both of those Marines before the Vulture of JYJ arrives? That'll be the key here. If JYJ ends up bringing these Marines back home and he's able to bully away the barracks, but Ample isn't, that'll be a big scouting advantage here for JYJ after that initial trade.
Yeah, it's not just a scouting advantage, it's actually a big eco lead, because you have to remember that Ample brought off some additional SCVs off the line to block the ramp, so it really slows down his own timings. But he's not going for a CC first, he's going for a 2-fact. He's going to be doing a lot of aggression here against JYJ. Let's see if it can pay off. JYJ is going to float into the barracks now to identify that. He can just, you know, chill back at home with a bunker, make a tank and what have you, and be reasonably safe. No, it's going to be a second factory. I think Starport would just be way too late to be cost effective against this early 2 factory of Ample.
Yeah, sometimes the Starport can be strong. You're not really going to be getting an armory with this, so
that's true.
Having the Wraith out can just kind of bully the tank slowly but surely. Ample going to be putting on a lot of pressure. He has to get something done with this. That is a fact. You need to get damage going. Oh, he actually does throw down an armory. Okay, so I mean, he gets in here, he sees the 2-fact, and he makes the armory. A little bit surprised about that. Maybe he wants to just build Goliaths anyway as just an early game tool to just shove down this natural, or give the tank a little bit of extra defenses here. I don't know. Let's see how this goes. I mean, you're gonna be just barely had. Oh, this block too. Oh my god, that's so annoying. Oh man, these units are just not leaving the base either. Oh my god, look at the Vulture. Back and forth, back and forth. Dude, this is such a huge move from JYJ. It seems like such a small thing, but just blocking that Vulture there is going to run a massive deficit for Ample.
This is huge. Yeah, it takes a lot of wind out of Ample's sails and trying to get something done here. I think the armory is a nice touch. It kind of hedges your bets dealing with a 1-1-1 Starport play, and also maybe gives you options to make a Goliath and be aggressive. Goliaths are actually really good aggressively when the units are in low numbers like this. Let's see if Ample can still get some damage done. Has his siege mode already set up. Does manage to pick off one of the tanks off JYJ. SCV's coming off the line though to help kill that low HP tank off. Now JYJ retreating back to the safety of that bunker, and I mean, maybe this attack would have been a lot stronger had Ample's units not been so clogged up in his main base. Suddenly he's attacking a couple of seconds slower than he would usually, and that's a lot of lost tempo. He's gonna start mining up the front now, start hitting the bunker with these siege tanks, and kind of put JYJ on the clock. Both of these tanks are low HP for JYJ. I really feel like he needs to repair both of these up.
It looks like Ample's just going to try and kill as many SCVs potentially as he can and go into his own CC. JYJ gets the siege on and has a Wraith popping out here in a moment. There's the first Goliath, so the Wraith's not necessarily going to shut this down. A high ground tank will be a bit annoying, but he's got a floating barracks, so he should be able to deal with that. Gonna pull back here to the corner. Still can hit the command center for now. This is a scary position for JYJ to be in. The Wraith can come out and push back the barracks, though. Once the barracks is pushed back, you don't have scans here as Ample. So eventually that will be pushed back, and then there's a potential for JYJ to sneak forward a little bit and start to hit these tanks with tanks of his own.
Yeah, I like how JYJ is handling this. Just going to be putting 2 SCVs on repair duty to that CC. Wait for the Wraith to finally come out and bully back this vision advantage of the barracks. So suddenly this doesn't become too much of a problem to handle. There is a Goliath there, but it hasn't got Karen boosters to easily range down this Wraith. JYJ going to shuffle forward a little bit with his tanks to shut down this aggression on his CC. Losing 1 tank, though, for his efforts thus far. has got the high ground advantage as well, but does manage to trade off another tank of Ssak, still taking damage to that CC, despite the positioning of these tanks from JYJ, just barely out of range of that forward tank, but looks like Ample going to be conceding that forward position anyway and fall back to more of a contain.
So the big question remains, was this enough damage? Did he actually manage to get enough kills here? I'm not so sure. Ample gets in and gets another kill on a tank there, forcing some extra splash damage from the Vulture to land on that tank, and killing that off actually gives him a little bit of momentum. He's going to kill this other tank and now can sneak into this little corner here, try to get some more kills on the gas SCVs as he can. The CC is a little bit low, but I don't think it's in danger of going down. Tank's barely out of range here. Okay, some of the SCVs are going to come just barely in range and be able to get killed off. Now I think Ample's done enough damage. What do you think, Xun?
Yeah, I think just barely enough damage to make this game way more playable for himself. This was a 2-factory opening, so his CC was significantly later than JYJ, but he's killed so many
Alright, looks like
아니 저 탱크로 완산돼 있는 거잖아요.
지금 상대방이 탱크가 하나밖에 없다는 사실을 알면은 이건 들어가도 되는 상황인데
네, 벌쳐 드랍.
벌처 드랍으로 그럼 확실한 이득을 뽑아내야 됩니다.
네, 돌아오나요?
김태형의 약점은 여기밖에 없어요 지금.
네. 어제 골리앗. 탱크까지 가면서 지금 몰아내고 있는데요.
네.
이거 막느라 시간을 조금 소비하는 거지. 저거 충분히 앞마당 들어갈 만한 자격이 있습니다.
네. 그리고 탱크 차이가 너무 나요.
네.
계속 나요.
골리앗 탱크 지금 나와요.
이거 드랍도 한 번이지 연속해서 들어가면은 상대가 병력 배치를 골리앗만 배치를 해줘도 아까만큼의 타격을 입기는 좀 어려울 텐데.
네. 연계가 필요한 것 같습니다.
네. 지금 드랍 벌처로 활약을 하고 그 다음에 아까 말씀하신 이제 뭐 연계라는 것은 상대방의 입구 쪽에 시즈 모드를 물러나게 만들어야 되거든요.
네. 자 여기서 자원줄을 지금 후면을 파고 있는데.
네. 자원줄을 후벼 파는 거는 효과가 조금 있다 나타납니다.
네.
지금 당장의 유닛 숫자를 따라잡으려면은 시간이 조금 더 필요합니다.
네.
그 얘기인즉슨.
좋아요.
배럭을 기다렸네요. 이거 시야가 부족한 거. 이게 탱크를 조금만 더 앞장서서 배치시켜놓고 보다 확실하게 상대방의 탱크를 자리 못 잡게 하는 게 중요했거든요.
네.
골리앗 잡았는데
네.
레이스가 움직여야죠.
아 이게 꾸역꾸역 막히게 되면 야, 김태형 선수 힘 좀 빠지는 상황 나옵니다.
네.
올라가고 있어요.
네, 병력은 물론 조금 더 많을 거예요.
예.
자, 확실한 승리를 위해서 자 이번에 자, 레이스
레이스
두기.
두기.
레이스가 마침표를 찍을 수 있는 카드 중에 하나라고 생각이 되긴 합니다.
네.
김태형의 레이스 분명히 온다라는 사실은 인지를 했는데 대비를 할 수 있을까는 또 다른 문제거든요.
네.
레이스 둘이라고 해도 상대는 원레이스고
아 이거
지상군이
네, 입고 동원해요.
탱크 또 잡히면
지금 골리앗이 왔기
예.
때문에 일꾼 달려드는 건 의미가 없고
이거 뭔가 아슬아슬하거든요.
예.
네.
안마랑 쪽에 일꾼을 조금 던졌고 드랍 대비를 안마랑 쪽에다가 했는데 본진의 드랍.
네, 본진 쪽으로
네.
들어가서 지금 여기서 해.
벌써 조금
예.
떨구는 건 여유 있어요. 지금 머신샵 없는 팩토리에서 나온 거기 때문에
네. 그 상대의 조이기 라인이 조금 더 덜 두터워지게끔 지금은 상황을 만들었다면은 레이스가 와서 드랍십 정리하고
네.
상대방의 안마랑을 또 공략을 할 수 있다라는 점도 되게 부담될 거예요.
앞마당 SCV가 많은 편은 아니네요.
네.
진짜 기적처럼 한 차례 막아냈습니다. 끌릴 만한 상황 분명 있었다라고
네.
보거든요.
네. 김태형이 조금 더 적극적이었으면 원탱크 대 막 5, 6탱크 됐을 때 그때 더 공격적으로 밀었으면 됐을 텐데.
자, 여기 제공권 싸움.
자, 레이스.
벌쳐. 자, 터지는 뒤에 골리앗 있어요.
자, 결국엔 시야가 좀 부족해집니다.
Alright, guys. We're still having problems. We're still having problems, guys. I apologize. We're gonna switch over to the normal ASL stream here. The clean feed is causing us some issues. Looks like we missed a few things here, but a drop came in from JYJ, and Ample has continued to just bear down on JYJ at the front. Continuing on this push that began with just a two factory attack and has evolved now into a full-on containment with floating buildings and Goliaths and plenty of tanks here. He's searching around the map for JYJ, who's likely going to be trying to slide out with a drop here any moment. He knows that JYJ is in desperate straits, so as long as he can make sure that no sneaky drops get out on the map and he just contains them like this, he should be in for a win.
And Ample, being a little bit greedy as well, is going to be taking a third base at the 12 o'clock, kind of defending by attacking here and making it harder for vultures to come in and punish that. There is some vultures checking the natural expansion of Ample now. They're going to get cleared up by some reinforcing units. We see there's some dropships being loaded up with additional units. Now he scans the 12 o'clock and sees the base there. He's about to assault that position with a trio of Wraiths and 2 dropships worth of units. Ample's shuffling up 5 Goliaths to try and shut this down, but there should be just barely enough siege tanks to mop this up. There are more and more Goliaths as well as tanks now showing up to the party to shut down this aggression. Looks like Ample will be holding onto this position.
Ample expanding over to the 12 o'clock is pretty cheeky here. He knows that he wants to set up some turrets over there anyway to prevent drops. This last-ditch effort here to drop on top of the tanks and try to break this position with SCVs has failed, and GG is called. He taps out. JYJ not going to be advancing here, and Ample has another lease on life, another shot at defeating Soulkey after that embarrassing game number 1.
Wow, can you imagine, like, the roller coaster of emotions this guy will be going through if he actually manages to knock out Soulkey as well? That would be quite exceptional. I would love to see Ample redeem himself in that final match against Soulkey. I think it's a bit of a tall order, and I think he's going to get away with blindsiding Soulkey with another proxy the way he did in that match number 1. A bit disappointing there for JYJ. Kind of got a little bit outplayed by that 2 factory play. Ample just too aggressively consistent with running it down, and I like Ample's style there. Like, he was very conservative with how he went about that. He could have gotten greedy and pressed the issue more, but he kept shuffling back his tank line, getting in position to range the CC from a position that JYJ couldn't really easily punish from the high ground or his own tank line, and kept killing more and more SCVs, especially with how that gas was positioned to the right of the CC. And it just slowly grinded down JYJ to a nub and has started the process of redeeming himself in this group.
Yeah, I think the big moment in that game was the moment when he was pressing back the barracks. The barracks was giving the vision range for Ample, and Ample lost the vision of the tanks shuffling forward, and that was the moment when JYJ had the opportunity to potentially break out, but he kind of messed up with his control. He didn't have the greatest move forward, was a bit eager to get out and start that fight, and it ended up going poorly for him. And then from there, Ample just keeps the pressure on and busts his way through. Soulkey versus Ample is coming up here in a moment, guys. We're going to go to commercial break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we are back for the final game. Soulkey versus Ample. Big apologies for the dropped connection there in JYJ versus Ample. But we're going to be looking for a different solution here. We're going to be switching things up for the next stream. Make sure that we've got the clean stream rolling. For now, bear with us with the Korean stream here. We can still bring you this final game, and it should be a epic conclusion. I mean, hopefully Ample can get a little bit of satisfaction here in this final game, at least play to his level and not make another big foul up like that last game.
Yeah, that was definitely a bit of a botch game from him in game number 1, but he's got a bit of a repeat. Can go back and see if he can do it again. We're going to have Sylphid coming up. The final match, Soulkey versus Ample. Let's get it started, guys.
Here is Soulkey spawning in the bottom left. Ample in the top center. Ample. What kind of game does he want to play here on Neo Sylphid? Soulkey. Will he be opening with an early pool, knowing how close he came in that game number 1?
You mean he's gonna have balls of steel if he tries to play hatchery first again, but you know, you probably will come to the conclusion, there's no way this guy's gonna proxy me again, right? And yeah, sometimes can be smart to do 2 things twice in a row just because your opponent might not be expecting you to be that crazy with your build order choice. This is Sylphid as well. You have to consider how easy it is to muta harass in the natural expansions of the minerals pressed right up against the edge here. So I wonder if Ample is going to be looking to maybe opening up with Valkyries or something this game at the very minimum.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. There's just so much surface area in the main base to cover.
Yeah, it's rough.
Gas is way out to the side here at top center. It's going to be tough for Ample. I mean, the natural is really annoying to try and defend on Sylphid, and luckily for him, the natural is really far away from Soulkey. It's going to be a little bit harder to get over there and actually hit those SCVs, but the main is still going to be a pain. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ample go for a Valkyrie build at all. It's been really powerful lately, and in fact, the way that Barracks took Soulkey out in last season.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's a very viable option here. And quite literally the worst spawn position for Terran as well at that 12 o'clock. Every position has the weakness of the natural minerals being pressed up against the edge like this. But as Saiyan was saying, this gas being off to the side is so much area to cover with turrets alone. Trying to open up with traditional SK Terran doesn't feel that great. So let's see if Ample wants to be a little bit more tech-centric after throwing down this CC here in the natural. Starting things off with a wall in to be a little bit safe. You do have these doodads, kind of, well, rather rocky terrain tiles blocking the sides. There's always going to be one entrance into the natural. That's kind of been the main balance change that we've had in the last couple of years in the maps, where we kind of make sure Terrans can't get a perfect wall off in the natural. That was just a little bit too strong. Going to be putting on a little bit of pressure with a bunker here. This isn't a full committal from Ample. This is just to maybe force a response out of Soulkey. He just wants to pull some drones off the line, get him to chase the SCV. This is kind of like a fake bunker rush, but he will still try and get over here with a Marine to maybe see if he can kill a drone, but then he'll pull back.
Just put a little damage onto that one drone, but Soulkey smartly pulling away and just hiding it over towards that top left. Bunker is getting close to finish. SCV still has a good amount of HP, so they won't be able to target that down immediately. Jumps into the bunker with the drone kill. This is a pretty good start for Ample.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of double faked out Soulkey here. Like, he made it look like a fake bunker rush, but he actually does finish up that bunker and now starting to squeeze some Marines inside of it. This is getting a little bit problematic for Soulkey. He's even denying the drones mining in the natural critically before some more lings can arrive to maybe get us around on that bunker. It's only 3 Marines in that bunker, so you can kill that with 10 lings pretty competently here. Putting quite a lot of damage on, but as these second pair of lings pop out, from the hatchery. Going to get us around on that bunker from all sides and clear this up. But honestly, not the worst case scenario for Ample. Like getting a little bit of early economic damage to Soulkey. He killed a drone. He denied a lot of mining time, forced a bunch of lings. And that's probably about as good as he could have hoped for.
Ooh. Hydroden. Wow.
Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa.
Well, that's interesting. That's not what I was expecting, but the Hydroden should do pretty well against the wall in here. It'll all be up to Ample, though, whether he can defend it. He's going to be expecting mutas, but will he be able to confirm that it's not the case?
Yeah, I mean, in the modern meta, like, everyone's come to the conclusion that 2-hatch muta is just not that strong. You know, the bio control is just too good in the modern age. They can bully back the lurkers, 2-hatch lurker, and it's not really that hard to identify as long as you don't delay getting your scanners. Some Terrans do metagame a little bit. They'll sometimes only make one scanner at a time. Maybe won't have enough energy to easily deal with this attack. It's possible that this could work. The main thing is that this is a wall in from Ample, so he's not got much space to build bunkers. Even if he can identify this, there's a chance that this could do a lot of damage to Ample if Soulkey manages to blindside him with it.
One problem for Soulkey is he didn't start the Hydroden in time. He started it when the layer was already done, which means that he's not going to have lurker upgrade when you usually would with an attack like this. So he's going to be in a bit of trouble here. I mean, 4 Hydras are coming out, but he's going to have to morph them somewhere awkward. And there's Ample getting the scan into the main, getting that confirmation. Now he knows what's coming. It's going to be so much harder to make this work.
Yeah, and Ample did do the thing where he makes only one scanner at a time, so he won't have loads of scanner energy, but he should still have enough. But the main issue is, like you say, not having as crisp of a timing on those lurkers. Soulkey trying to set himself up for a transition as well. He's getting a 3rd base online in that bottom left pocket, so this isn't like an all-in or anything. He just wants to be a bit aggressive, maybe contain Ample, and try and transition from that point onwards. Doing a good catch on that Firebat from getting any value here. He's got a lot of speedlings, so Ample can't really come out onto the map safely either. And just 4 lurkers as well. Usually you would have about 5 with a normal 2-hatch lurker timing. He's had to cut a little bit here because of that early damage, so hasn't got as much punching power as he would usually. But the main aim of the game here is to just maybe push Ample back into his natural and try and get a contain with these lurkers.
All right, Soulkey shoving in closer and closer. Not wanting to take any fire from that bunker. There's a possibility Soulkey just holds here and goes into this 3rd base. It gets this 3rd gas online and it just handles this carefully. Try to transition into a hive play. Those Marines are kind of stuck right now. They actually can't move. And as soon as they do, they all start to die. So this is a pretty sneaky play here from Soulkey, just getting a little bit closer over and over again. Gonna pull back just in time to keep the rest of these lurkers alive. Wow, what a pull from Soulkey. He keeps all the lurkers alive, and almost every Marine ends up falling. This is a rough position for Ample now. This is almost a shoe-in for Soulkey to get this 3rd base online and just kind of ride out the kind of early game pressure of going for the lurker play.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a Spire making at the 3rd base to kind of hide that tech from Ample as well. He just scanned the main and saw that there was a Queen's Nest being thrown down. This is pretty good play from Soulkey. There is going to be a tank popped out in just a moment here to start to bully this back, but a lot of bio did go down. And Soulkey going to reinforce this position just a little bit by adding an extra lurker to the affair. And now this looks better and better for Soulkey. He's been able to squeeze out a lot of drones during all of this. So his economy will definitely be recovered from that early game deficit. And he's not actually going to try and pull the trigger on this bunker. He's got a 6 lurker showing up as well. That's more than enough to push back this bunker in position. There is now a tank out. Will eventually start to go to work on clearing this up, but it will take a lot of time for Ample to actually get out of this contain fully.
Yeah, this is actually going to force more and more scans. I really like this from Soulkey.
Yeah.
Generally, the Terran player is just going to be banking scans for quite a long time until they're actually ready to push out with the tank play. But look at this, a Muta switch immediately after.
Nice.
Ooh, this is really sneaky stuff from Soulkey. This is an Urbmon special, man. Going directly into Mutalist after the 2-hatch lurker play. Not quite the same as Urbmon plays, but hey, this is not a bad build from Soulkey. It really has the same idea of just utilizing that greatest strength of the Zerg player, which is switching techs quickly.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job. The turrets are not ready inside the main base. Like, just as Ample's gearing up to start to push out of that lurker contain, he's now in pure crisis management mode, trying to deal with this Muta switch, and he's not making any ground at breaking out from that lurker contain, and vessels are not yet out. This is looking better and better for Soulkey. That hive is on the way. He's going to be playing a traditional game from this point onwards, getting that Defiler tech out. Meanwhile, enjoying a very comfortable position against Ample. He's finally got that science vessel out to start helping the tanks shove out from that contain. The hive is now done. There's going to be a very razor thin timing window for Ample to try and punish this, and Soulkey's going Great Aspire to put an even better clock on the timing attack of Ample. He's not just going to wait for that Defiler mount to finish up to be safe. He's going to be proactive with the Guardian switch, which is a great way of shutting down a tank push.
Defiler mound on the way, and Ample hasn't even left the base. I don't know if he even needs the Guardians to keep Ample back when he hasn't even moved out yet. There's plenty of time here to get that Defiler and consume ready. As long as he buys a little bit of time with these lurkers, he should be fine. Ooh, walking a bit too close here. He may lose a tank. Pretty close to losing one of those tanks. 2 lurkers go down, but quite a bit of damage on the tanks here. Gonna dive on top of everything as it comes down from this false high ground. Great spines here, killing one of those tanks and badly injuring another. And Ample, I mean, he's having a really hard time just crossing the map right now.
Yeah, I think he still will make the Guardians. He's got about, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds until Consume is ready. It might be an idea just to morph a few Guardians to be super safe here. And there's the Guardian switch now, just to be absolutely sure that this tank push will be stopped in its tracks. This is like the one hope for Ample coming back in this game, is hitting Soulkey before that Consume upgrade is ready, or at least killing off the majority of the lurkers before the Consume is done. So there's nothing under the Dark Swarm that can stop him anymore. And just as he's about to be knocking on the front door of Soulkey here in the natural expansion, these Guardians are about to start popping out. Soulkey's done an absolute masterclass in ZVT this game with the lurker opening into this hive transition. Ample's in so much trouble. He's just going to have to suck it up, unfortunately. There's nothing that can be done about this. Soulkey playing out of his mind right now.
Yeah, and there's a Defiler on the way here as well. The lurker number is still way too high, and there are Guardians crossing the map. It's a long flight for the Guardians to get over to the natural here, but he can definitely start to put on the aggression. He actually turns the Guardians around, gonna use them for defense. Generally, they're a better defensive unit. I mean, I don't know if that's how they were intended to be used here, but it's kind of in the name, right? The Guardian, kind of a funny way that it turned out. So many units are not used as intended, as Blizzard, intended when they made the unit, but Guardians actually turned out to have this tiny little niche in defending tank pushes that exactly matches their name in this matchup.
Yeah, I actually like Guardians on Sylphid in particular because of the configuration of the expansions. You can kind of rotate around your 3 bases to defend with the Guardians without having to travel too far. So you can keep rotating these Guardians from the 3rd base back to the natural to defend retroactively against whatever Ample decides to do. And this is a great setup from Soulkey. I can't really fault his play here at all today. He was claiming that he thought he would lose and that he's not feeling super confident. I do feel like that was a little bit of just Korean culture seeping through. I think he's playing pretty phenomenally today. Maybe not to the same caliber as he has in the past, but this is, pun intended, Ample play from Soulkey here, and he's looking more and more fantastic as time ticks by. Ample trying to take a third base behind this, doesn't quite get the pick on the Science Vessel with the Scourge, runs forward to try and punish the positioning of the Guardians, but still not really catching any of them thus far. And you don't really want to be wasting Irradiates on Guardians when you've got Lurkers and Defilers to contend with either.
Yeah, that's right. I thought we would see Soulkey rotate those Guardians a little bit higher over the high ground there to the north to defend the tanks, but in fact, Ample just turns around and backs out. I'm going to give Soulkey a bit of breathing room here, and Soulkey is going to utilize that to get double upgrades rolling, maybe gearing up for a Hydralisk Defiler follow-up here. Ample already has a pretty significant number of tanks and can continue that production, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out for him, but switching directly into Ultras right now might be a bit of a tall task. Soulkey attempting to get bottom right on the line. We'll see if he can get that gas rolling and actually manage the transition into Ultras.
Yeah, traditionally you don't really want to go into an Ultra transition off 3 gas. I mean, you can do it, it's just a little bit weak. It'd be much smarter for him to try and set up that base in the bottom right before fully committing into that. He's doing a great job of buying a lot of time and creating space by just leapfrogging forward with those Cheeto dust clouds, keeping Ample back. Ample finally got that third base online. But, you know, it's just a mineral only. It's not really going to help him scale against the late game tech of the Zerg. You kind of need a lot more, say you need like a BC switch with 3 starports or maybe triple factory tank. You need something a little bit extra in terms of gas to combat this the longer it goes on. And the fact that he's only got a mineral only to supplement as his third base doesn't feel that strong from Ample. And Guardians now rotating down to that bottom right pocket to help secure that gas expansion from coming online.
Yeah, Guardians preventing that small group of Marines from getting into position there. They'll be invaluable in keeping that alive and helping Soulkey get that 4th gas online. Apple wants to send more units down there to try and deal with that, but the Nidus is going to finish, no doubt. And, oh, a little bit of a pick here. Ample making some ground, killing off a couple of lurkers there. But yeah, these Guardians are doing great. What great usage of this kind of underutilized defensive unit here. Guardians making a lot of kills. I'd love to see how many kills these actually have now, because they've been utilized to perfection from Soulkey in this game. Just control space, and now he's got a very good economy behind this. He's going to start to pump out enormous amounts of Hydralisk Defiler. I'm just wondering whether Ample will be able to keep up with him with this double expansion coming online and more tanks starting to crank out.
Yeah, it's great that he's finally starting to get a gas expansion at the 3 o'clock. It's taken a little bit of time to fully get that saturated and underway. It's the right moves. He's got a couple of Wraiths actually coming down here to the bottom right to punish these Guardians. That's a nice play from Ample. That's definitely something to work with. He's actually forcing the Guardians into a disadvantaged position, moving into the Marines, but the Nidus Canal network was fully connected, so gonna have some reinforcements stream out down there. And now Ample trying to run it down on the natural expansion while Soulkey's distracted by the right play comes out on 3 of those vessels. Soulkey does have enough tools in his arsenal to keep Ample back, though. Nice gambit from Ample, finally clearing out those Guardians, which have been so cost-effective this game thus far. We've got +2 Carapace for Soulkey, I think 2-1 upgrades for Ample. There's definitely room for Ample to maneuver. He's got a couple of dropships loading up to try and punish this bottom right base as well. Has got a pretty significant fleet of vessels to keep leveraging this air advantage against Soulkey and continuously irradiate over and over again. And just as Soulkey is distracted on holding this natural expansion location, here comes 2 dropships unloading in the bottom right.
Yeah, double dropship going into bottom right. There are some sunken colonies here, and the Nidus is really close. He can easily jump through into this bottom right-hand corner. I imagine he's got to be able to see that, but is he going to lose the Nidus Canal too quickly? The Nidus goes down. Lurkers make it here in time, though. It looks like Soulkey will at least hold on, but the Nidus is gone for now. That leaves a big opening in the defenses. Ample could potentially start to take advantage of. Yeah, he's going to go back and load up some more drops.
Yeah.
And they're going to be sent in here in a moment. Soulkey might start to fall apart.
This is great play from Ample. He just needs to keep hitting this base in the bottom right before Soulkey can set up another Nidus Canal down there. He needs to continuously be hitting that base with dropships over and over again, and maybe even assaulting it on the ground while he's containing Soulkey in the natural expansion with the tank line, with the fleet of vessels. This is pretty good play from Ample. He certainly has a chance of winning this game. Soulkey kind of desperately pushing out against his tank line to kill off as many of them as possible. Beautiful catch from Soulkey to deny the retreat of the remainder of those tanks. Only one of them remaining in the front line now, but Ample kind of struggling with his task switching a little bit, hasn't yet assaulted that base in the bottom right. He's only just now starting to load up additional dropships, and Soulkey is getting that second Nidus Canal back to being connected. Ample losing his window and punishing that base in the bottom right.
Yeah, he kind of lost his opening now. I guess he can try to shove down with the tanks now and hit the entrance and then go for a drop. Try to force some more units down over here. Ooh, I'm worried for Soulkey if he wants to try and come out right now. Drops go into the main. Darkstorm is here at the front, but the back is kind of open, and there's a lot of fire bats. He's just going to go for the kill on the hatchery, immediately targeting that down. Can he actually get the hatchery? Just a few Hydras here to try and defend that. It's getting low. Oh my gosh, he gets it just barely here. 2 Marines left over. Ample gets the base and shuts down some of the economy of Soulkey.
Wow, he still basically gets the job done. Shutting down that gas income is super huge right now. He's maintained a pretty healthy count of vessels. The plagues and denial of those vessels not quite being on point. Oh my god, this plague could be huge though. Look at that plague. Oh my god. So much of the bio and vessels getting caught in that. Soulkey going to be trying to fight back strong against this containing force. Now the Marines are going to get absolutely eviscerated by the spines of those Hydras just chewing through them. So he is going to be losing this front entirely despite killing that hatchery in the bottom right. Ample needs to be careful that he doesn't just get broken on the front line right now. Soulkey could try and hit this false high ground expansion and start taking the fight to him now.
Soulkey wasn't able to kill many vessels during that engagement. He killed a lot of Marines, but he wanders into a small force of Marines there. Vessels are super low. So many of them plagued. Finally, he's going to get some kills here on a few of these vessels. These are some fresh ones that just came out. So many of those are plagued right now, but hasn't been able to find the kills that he's looking for. These are not the droids you're looking for. Base in the bottom right finally comes back online here for Soulkey. He can start to get that extra gas income online again, and he still has the Nidus set up there. So he is stabilizing, but Ample is growing as well. He's continuing to put on the pressure and continuing to grow, but map control is starting to swing towards Soulkey.
Yeah, Ample, he's got this containing force in the bottom right, but he's at risk of being pincer maneuvered right now. He's setting another army down there, but it might just barely not be in time to save the day, unfortunately. Soulkey also got an insurance policy, taking the expansion towards the 12 o'clock in that top left pocket. Ample with another elevator down here in the bottom right main base, trying to overwhelm Soulkey on multiple fronts. He's also rotating around to this natural third location of Soulkey. He's Lurker blocked the ramp to try and shut this down. Has got a Nidus Canal down here as well to funnel some units through to defend that. So much action happening across the map. Run it by on the mineral line now, trying to kill as many drones as possible, shut down the economy. He's going to try and pick off the Nidus Canal connecting that bottom right base as well. That will expose this base to continued attacks, but Soulkey's not putting all of his eggs in one basket. He is getting that base in the top left to keep supplementing his gas income.
Ooh, targeting down some vessels here at the front. There's going to be another plague coming out soon, I imagine. There's the plague on all these Marines. So many Hydras and Lurkers shoving forward right now. Tank number not that high, but there are more reinforcements moving into position. Ample attacking top left right now as the distraction here at bottom right takes effect. Hydras get ripped apart by these tanks. Great D-Matrix there is potentially going to shut down these Lurkers as well. No Defiler for the moment. So this all gets pushed away. Lurkers themselves can't just run directly up onto this. So he's having a hard time clearing out the army over there in top left. Ample staying very near max out supply and keeping the pressure on everywhere at the same time. Soulkey is being pulled to his absolute limit as he drops below 100 supply.
Yeah, you saw it, Soulkey pursing his lips there. He knows he's a little bit up against it. He came very close to a fantastic position, but it could slip through his fingers at the final hour. Ample being relentless. He's had such a high count of vessels for the majority of this game. Soulkey finally taking his false high ground expansion. Here comes a drop in the top left pocket pocket base of Soulkey. This is one of the bastions of hope to keep Soulkey in the game. A bit of an eraser trick as well to shut down the gas income in that bottom right simultaneously. Ample playing pretty out of his mind. His task switching hasn't been the best that I've ever seen, but this is close. This is a really high level game that we're seeing from Ample. He is stretching Soulkey to the pinnacle of his play, and this attack in the top left looks pretty successful. Soulkey unable to shut it down. He's going to lose this hatchery in the top left, as well as having his gas mining hiccuped in the bottom right.
Damn, it's so rare you see a tank drop in TVZ, but there it is. It actually works out fantastic for Ample. 2 tanks behind that mineral line being just enough to help him break that base. And so Ample will continue to put on this pressure to just heap on more and more pressure as Soulkey gets further and further back. Some Dark Swarms go down. Irradiate on eggs. There are irradiate on hydras that turn into eggs, keeping the last of the army alive here for Soulkey. Really critical that he gets absolutely as much as he possibly can out of each and every unit in this difficult situation. He's 80 supply down, and he needs another base online. We're 25 minutes in, guys. The gases are running out. Great plague here in the middle of the map, starting to shove things back. He cannot take the engagement, though, unless it is absolutely 100% in his favor. Otherwise, he's just going to get bled dry by Ample at this point.
Yeah, his false high ground expansion just now finished. So Soulkey can get some more gas income soon, but those bases aren't high yield, so it won't last forever. Soulkey desperately needs to start killing these gas units of Ample, as many tanks as possible so they can't get into a critical mass, and to keep reducing that vessel count over and over again. Ample's done a great job of just constant pressure, keeping Soulkey on the back foot. Another elevator here in the bottom right. There is a Nidus Canal network set up here, so Soulkey can respond to this, but he is stretched a little bit thinly. Has got a couple of defilers and a bunch of hydras to shut this down. Looks like he will be holding on to this base. Absolute relentless aggression from Ample. He is one of the more aggressive Terrans in the lineup, and he's showcasing that today, trying to have a bit of redemption considering that first game blunder of a throw that he had against Soulkey. But Soulkey is holding the line beautifully. He is gradually clawing his way back into this game. He's now got an additional gas expansion set up. Meanwhile, Ample will be stagnating a little bit. He's not going to be getting any additional expansions up for a while. He's going to start to get mined out at that mineral only eventually, as well as that high yield base. Sorry, the low yield base at that false high ground will be drying up on him.
Yeah, he needs to get bottom right natural up and running here very, very soon. He is super low on gas. His main and natural are out. His third will be running out here in a moment as well. So it's do or die right now for Soulkey as he presses into the middle of the map. Does not have a defiler with this army, so the trades are not going to be so good. He needs amazing trades right now to stay alive in this game, and he's just not finding them. Ample loops around the bottom side. He's going to take this fight, and because there's no defiler here, you know, maybe he doesn't win this battle, but he's going to end up winning the war as more and more units pile in here. D-matrix to get thrown down. This army is going to trade super well against Soulkey's limited supply. Down to 95. 95 supply is dangerous territory for Soulkey, who's barely hanging on in this game.
It's a shame that Ample couldn't get a few tanks over with this army hitting the false high ground third of Soulkey. I think that fight would have looked a lot different if there was just a couple of tanks like we see on screen now sprinkled in to that battle calculation. Soulkey has been hanging on by a thread for quite a significant portion of this game, but the longer this goes on, the better it will be for Soulkey. I mean, that mineral only is about to dry out for Ample, so is the false high ground expansion. Soulkey just needs to hang on for a little bit longer, and will start to overwhelm these Terran positions. He's getting on top of the tank line now in the center, hitting from 2 locations, but the Hydras do get bullied back. The Dark Swarm attack from the north flank was far better faring, and does manage to clear up some of these forces of Ample, keeping him pressed back, keeping the tank count as manageable as possible. This is a really insane ZVT. Finally, that third base of Soulkey is drying up. He has got that false high ground to keep himself online, but like you say, needs to get maybe that bottom right natural up to keep going.
Ample's been pushed back a little ways, but his tank count continuing to grow. 4 moving into position down here at the bottom right. If Soulkey can clear those and get another base online, he's got a chance still. He's got a shot. Another Defiler ends up going down before throwing down a second Dark Swarm. Okay, it actually gets the second Dark Swarm in a pretty good position. Another couple of tanks are going to fall because of that. And he clears enough space at least to keep this false high ground alive for now. CC going up in top left. Soulkey cannot allow that to stand. He's managed to live long enough for Ample to start to dry up. If that base in the top left gets up for Ample, it's going to be almost a split map situation, and Soulkey, who's been on the ropes the entire game, just cannot allow that to happen.
Yeah, we got another 2 drop ships making their way downtown into that bottom right base as well, keeping the pressure alive, while some main battle force makes its way down to the tank line containing the bottom right natural location as well. Soulkey struggling to fight on multiple fronts right now. Has got a Defiler squeezing out of that Nidus Canal to try and clean up that dropship play, but now Ample has been able to re-secure the contain in the bottom right natural, stopping Soulkey from getting additional base. He's trying to maybe get a kill on this gas geyser in the bottom right main as well. Not successful in doing that, but getting this base online in the top left pocket, as well as stopping Soulkey from taking an additional gas base of his own, is a huge win condition right now for Ample.
Ooh, the overall vessel count is getting kind of low here, actually. He's going to get 2 more. Oh, not quite able to get that second one. A few more Hydras wind up falling. Ample relentlessly pushing towards this false high ground. Tanks are now in a really good position here, but Dark Swarm on these Hydras would actually allow him to break this pretty easily. If Defiler's making its way up here, can he get the Dark Swarm in the right spot? He needs to move these lurkers forward. Oh my gosh, not able to get it in time. Finally, a bit of a chink in the armor here for Soulkey, and he's wide open here. Ample breaking through this base, and Soulkey down to 75 supply men.
He's done it.
Oh, he's done it. Yeah, his hands are off the keys. Soulkey's gonna tap out here. GG. Oh wow. My goodness.
Wow. Can you imagine the elation coursing through this man's body right now? He had such a disappointing defeat, throwing that advantage away against Soulkey in game number 1 on Octagon, with that BBS in the center on either sides of the ring. Threw it away by trying to put his Marines on top of the Sunken and force a trade out of Soulkey, and now has redemption, gets the rematch, and actually closes out one of the most spectacular action-packed TVZs we've seen in a long time. Saying really impressive stuff. Soulkey is eliminated from the ASL in the round of 24 to Ample.
Well, that was a crazy close game between these two. Ample, like you said, absolutely elated. Soulkey looking defeated. His self-fulfilling prophecy comes true here. He is eliminated in the first round of ASL. That is going to be a shock to so many Brood War fans out there. So many guys who've looked up to Soulkey and watched him dominate throughout the years. 4-time ASL champion has just gone out once again, twice in a row. Will not be competing against Flash this season.
absolute craziness, absolute cinema. Like, I didn't think it would happen, but I was speculating, like, what a crazy redemption arc it would be for him to actually still get out of that group after that match one against Soulkey, and he actually pulls it off. Like, that's got to be the best way to win a group, right? You have the most disappointing start to the group that you could possibly hope for, and you redeem yourself in this fashion. I don't think you could ask for more. I think this is one of the most spectacular ways you could break out of the round of 24. Ample's got to be feeling on top of the world, man, and props to him. Like, it's hard to turn things around psychologically. And yeah, Soulkey with a bit of a self-defeating prophecy being fulfilled. Mindset is pretty much everything in competitive sports. If you're not going in with the mindset that you can win at every junction of the play, you're probably going to end up falling by the wayside. Like, your own expectations and perceptions of reality can very strongly dictate the outcome of your own performance and experiences. And we saw that manifest today. Big props to Ample, man. He played such a stellar game on Sylphid against Soulkey. And Soulkey had such a great opening as well, opening up with the lurkers, containing Ample. The muta switch was super strong. He did so much damage to Ample, shut down the initial dropship play. Everything was going well for Soulkey, and Ample still managed to pull it out of the bag with just relentless aggression. Big props to this man here today.
Man, Soulkey playing lurker in these games is kind of crazy, isn't it? I mean,
a little bit.
2 games in a row going lurker. We almost never see lurker these days in ASL. At the highest level, Pro League, whatever, KCM, you just almost never see lurker openers. And it felt like an afterthought for Soulkey. I think there's some credence to what you said before about the mindset of Soulkey. I watched a interview with Jaedong from way back in the day, him talking about his relationship with Flash and talking about his ASL or his OSL victories, his MSL victories. He talked so much about his mindset and about how he just had like infinite belief in himself as a player and his ability to win, and it just carried him through and set him apart from other players. And so, like, getting that, locking into that zone and having that mindset, such a massive difference. And the opposite also true. Soulkey, self-defeating prophecy, ends up going down to Ample here in the winners match, or the final match, excuse me. And Ample couldn't be more excited. Look at his face right now. He is absolutely elated.
Yeah, I mean, absolute cinema, saying, for this Group B of the ASL. We got another great group coming up tomorrow, guys. Don't sleep on that as well. A 3-0 group with the lone YSC. But weirdly, I would say YSC, one of the favorites to actually maybe break out of the group. He played so well and actually smashed Hero in the qualifiers, who's the tier 1 player of that group. There's also Lava in there. He's been playing super sick in ZVZ recently as well. So yeah, come in tomorrow. Check that games out as well. But we did kind of forget to say, with all of the crazy technical difficulties we've been having, but we do have a Patreon page. It's patreon.com/SaiyanJun There'll be a link in the description at the bottom of the StarCastTV VOD if you're watching on YouTube. We really do appreciate all of your guys' love and support. It means the world to us, and we're so happy to be here bringing you guys live coverage of the ASL like this. It's honestly a dream come true, I think, for both Saiyan and myself. So really big thank you to you guys for supporting us, what we do, and just showing up to enjoy these great games of StarCraft.
Yeah, and guys, we are going to make sure that the clean stream is working for tomorrow, and get it all sorted out so that we don't have any more technical difficulties like that. Always a bit of growing pains at the beginning of the ASL, but even more so this season because Soup Live was discontinued. Our channel was completely deleted. We had to move over to a completely different channel, and there's also troubles with the clean stream as well. So we're trying to get everything sorted here. We're going to make sure that it's good tomorrow. So make sure to join us here once again, whether that's in the live stream or over on StarCastTV on YouTube. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.